Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, in this video, we are going to cover top 50 important MCQs from the Indian Contract Act, especially for the IBPS Law Officer exam. So let's start the video. An agreement enforceable by law is defined under the Indian Contract Act as a contract. Every promise and every set of promises forming the consideration of each other is known as an agreement. A proposal, when accepted, becomes a promise. An agreement which is not enforceable by law is strictly known as void agreement. The communication of a proposal is complete when it comes to the knowledge of the person to whom it is made. A proposal can be legally revoked at any time before the communication of its acceptance is complete as against the proposer. In order to convert a proposal into a promise, the acceptance must strictly be absolute and unqualified. Consideration in a contract means something done at the desire of the promiser. As a general rule, an agreement made without consideration is void. Which of the following is a valid exception to the rule that an agreement without consideration is void? A promise to pay a time-barred debt in writing. According to the Indian Contract Act, a person who is of unsound mind is competent to contract only during lucid intervals. In the landmark case of Mohori Bibi versus Damodar Das Ghosh, an agreement made by a minor was held to be absolutely void ab initio. Two or more persons are said to consent when they agree upon the same thing in the same sense. Consent is said to be free when it is not caused by which of the following? Coercion. Committing or threatening to commit any act forbidden by the Indian Penal Code to induce a person to enter a contract is termed as coercion. A contract induced by undue influence is generally voidable at the option of the party whose consent was so caused. The active concealment of a material fact by a person having knowledge or belief of the fact constitutes fraud. If both the parties to an agreement are under a mistake as to a matter of fact essential to the agreement is void. A contract is not voidable merely because it was caused by a mistake as to any law in force in India. This principle falls under Section 21. Every agreement of which the object or consideration is unlawful is void. An agreement in restraint of marriage of any person other than a minor is legally void. An agreement by which anyone is restrained from exercising a lawful profession, trade, or business is void to that extent. Agreements by way of wager are explicitly declared by the Indian Contract Act to be void. A contract to do or not to do something, if some event collateral to such contract does or does not happen, is called a contingent contract. If a promisor offers to perform their obligation and the promisee refuses to accept it, the promisor is not responsible for non performance. When a contract requires personal skill or confidence of the promisor, who must perform the promise? The promisor personally. If time is of the sense in a contract and the promisor fails to perform within the specified time, the contract becomes voidable at the option of the promisee. The substitution of a new contract for an existing one, thereby discharging the old contract, is known as novation. A promisee may dispense with or remit, wholly or in part, the performance of the promise made to them. This is called remission. An agreement to do an act impossible in itself is void. If a contract becomes impossible to perform subsequent to its formation due to an unforeseen event, this principle is called frustration of contract. Relations resembling those created by a contract, created by operation of law, are commonly referred to as quasi contracts. If a person incapable of entering into a contract is supplied with necessaries suited to their condition in life, the supplier is entitled to be reimbursed from the property of the incapable person. A person who finds goods belonging to another and takes them into custody is subject to the same responsibility as a bailee. A person to whom money has been paid or anything delivered by mistake or under coercion must repay or return it. When a contract has been broken, the party who suffers by such breach is entitled to receive compensation for any loss or damage which naturally arose in the usual course of things. If a sum is named in the contract as the amount to be paid in case of breach, the aggrieved party is entitled to receive reasonable compensation not exceeding the amount so named. A contract by which one party promises to save the other from loss caused to them by the conduct of the promiser or any other person is a contract of indemnity. A contract to perform the promise or discharge the liability of a third person in case of their default is called a contract of guarantee. In a contract of guarantee, the person in respect of whose default the guarantee is given is called the principal debtor. The liability of the surety is mathematically and legally coextensive with that of the principal debtor. A guarantee which extends to a series of transactions is known as a continuing guarantee. The delivery of goods by one person to another for some purpose upon a contract that they shall be returned or otherwise disposed of is called bailment. In a contract of bailment, the person delivering the goods is referred to as the bailer. The bailment of goods as security for payment of a debt or performance of a promise is legally termed as pledge. A person employed to do any act for another or to represent another in dealings with third persons is called an agent. No consideration is fundamentally necessary to create an agency. A person employed by and acting under the control of the original agent in the business of the agency is known as subagent. Which of the following is essential for a valid contract under the Indian Contract Act 1872? Free consent of the parties. An agent's authority can be created by the principal either expressly or impliedly. That's all for today. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. See you in the next video.